Right. Hey guys, so celebrity pastor Matt Chandler just stepped aside as lead pastor of the Village Church, a huge Southern Baptist church. Also, he stepped aside from leading Acts 29. Pretty interesting stuff going on here. So if you're not familiar with Matt Chandler, he took over Acts 29. That's like a group of churches. They're all independent, the church is not accountable to anybody. And so they kind of got tied together officially to hold each other accountable, number one, but their biggest mission is to plant churches. They figure as a network of churches, they could plant more churches. So these are generally, they're Southern Baptist, they're Reformed, non-denominational, but they're all Calvinists, or neo-Calvinists, and some of them are cessationists, but most of them, I actually know one pastor. He's not a cessationist, which means, they believe the gifts ceased after the last apostle died, like John Calvin and Zwingli taught. But they're not like openly charismatic like the Catholic Church and Pentecostal Protestants teach, where St. Paul said, earnestly desire spiritual gifts. They don't follow that passage of the Bible. That just kind of gives you an idea, Acts 29 network. And they're generally really, as far as, Protestant goes, they're pretty solid guys that are connected to this group. Matt Chandler actually took over as president of Acts 29 from a guy named Mark Driscoll. If you're, I don't know if you're familiar with Mark Driscoll, very gifted preacher. He started a church, Mars Hill, with like 20 people, and it grew to be like humongous mega church. I think they had like 20,000 people before they fired him. So Mark Driscoll got fired from Mars Hill's church, the church he established, because apparently he was a pretty much a jerk, pretty rude, mean, nasty guy, and he bossed people around and lorded over them. St. Paul said we shouldn't, the leaders of the church should not lord over the sheep. And, they just, he didn't have, he wasn't caught in infidelity or financial embezzlement like all these prosperity preachers always do on a regular basis. He was just not a nice guy. And the way he set up his church, you got to give him props. He was held accountable to the elders, and they fired him. And then as a result, he was fired from Acts 29. I don't know if he started that, but he was involved in the beginning. He was the leader of Acts 29 network. So getting back to Matt Chandler, they replaced Mark Driscoll with Matt Chandler, who was the polar opposite. Just a generally nice guy, super clean cut, just very modest, very humble dude, like the opposite of these, prosperity preachers, And so it was like pretty shocking to, Protestants or ex-Protestants like myself that still are in touch with our evangelical brothers, that Matt Chandler would have to step aside. But it's not for what you would think. It's not the normal, interesting. I did a video about Greg Locke, how he admitted cheating on his wife, and then, with a younger staff member, and then of his church, and then divorcing his wife and marrying this woman, totally disregarding the scriptures that forbid this for pastors. And the same thing with John Hagee and this latest guy, Tavner Smith. These guys are just total frauds. Matt Chandler is not. Matt Chandler is a good Protestant pastor, and he carries himself very ethical and very, godly. So it was really surprising. But the reason he stepped down is because he said after a church service, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I guess, a woman in his church approached him and said, "I think this is inappropriate that you're texting my friend all the time. And you guys are back and forth. You're both married. This isn't right. And his first reaction was, well, my wife knows about our friendship and her husband knows. It's nothing sexual. It's nothing romantic. We're just friends. And, but I guess he was convicted by the Holy Spirit, or he just thought it was unwise. So he brought it to his elder board and said, hey, listen, this is what's going down. This woman approached me. Here's my phone. Look at the text. Tell me what you think. And the elder said, there's a problem. Not because you guys are sexting or doing anything bad like that. We're both married. The problem is the familiarity and the frequency. Check that out. The familiarity and the frequency is unwise and unguarded. I thought that was pretty interesting. And what they mean by that is, you know, I don't have Instagram. I guess it was on Instagram that you can like direct message and erase it, or so I don't know. You can direct message, kind of like a text. I'm imagining. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Facebook, so I don't know how these direct messaging work. But I'm sure most of you guys out there understand. You can like text each other. So I imagine if you're direct messaging another person you're not married to, whether you're a man or a woman, you know, it is unwise. And even if you're not talking sexual, even if you're not talking romantic, it's unguarded. I mean, it's just you and her, or her and him. And now I remember when I was younger in the Navy, I had to work, I was in supply, and I had to work with a lot of female civilians. And I would have to guard myself against, you know, some people you just get along with, and they could be of the opposite sex, and it's like natural. You just, for some reason, you're opposite temperaments, and you gel and you talk, and I would have to guard myself that I didn't get too close to women, because I was married. I got married, you know, at 19. So I definitely understand that. So if you're texting someone all the time that's not your wife, and you guys are just getting familiar with each other, you know, you just feel so close. It's just bound, you know, it's just human nature. It's bound, you know, you're gonna fall for one another, even if you don't want it. And you don't have to be ungodly. This could be two godly people, but the situation is ungodly, you know? You could say it's emotionally cheating on your spouse, even though you're not physically cheating. But I thought it was pretty cool that this pastor seen, okay, something's, you know, well, it was cool that someone stepped out and held him accountable. You know, say, oh, what's up? Why are you texting my girlfriend all the time? And then I thought it was a, you know, pretty good move for him to go to his elders and say, hey. And then he admitted, he unlike, you know, Greg Locke and Tabner Smith that have no accountability, they literally get caught with their pants down. I mean, literally, Tabner Smith, there's like 8 people from his church went in there, and he was in boxers, and this staff member from the church was naked with a towel around her. And this guy wouldn't step down because it was his church. He was the man, you know, he had no accountability. So this is like the polar opposite. So I give him props, but none of these Protestant pastors have apostolic succession, you know, so they're not part of the church that Jesus started, so they can pick and choose the scriptures they believe. So I'm glad they're being consistent with the scriptures that talk about pastors being held accountable. But because they're Protestants, if Matt Chandler didn't want to submit to his authority, he can go start a new church like Mark Driscoll did. You know? But I am going to give him props here and give his church elders props, because they could have just said, oh, there's nothing sexual, they're just friends, no big deal. But they looked at, you know, the long run, and they didn't cover up for their pastor. And he came straight out and told his congregation what was up. But interestingly, he didn't step down, he just stepped aside. And I seen his sermon where he addressed his, I think it was this past Sunday, so I seen it over the weekend. right off the bat, right out of the gate, he said, I plan on being your pastor for the next 20 years. And the guy's 48, so I guess he plans on being there until he retires. So I guess they just think this is, something they got to be aware of. And it's, hey guys, I'm sorry it's so dark here, you can't see me. Yeah, I got to figure out a different way of doing this. I got to pick up a truck from my son. I'm going to get registered next week, and I might be able to. I think it'll be a lot clearer in the morning. I just can't do it at work, literally, man. We're taking Bang to the next level. I'm getting in by 5, and I'm getting out by 6 at night. I mean, we're number 3 in the energy drink industry behind Red Bull and Monster, and we're going after Monster. So we got a plan, but it's taking us. It's going to take a lot of hard work, and but we're going to get there. But anyway, so I apologize for the darkness. I know a lot of you guys think it's dangerous, but I drive all day long. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm on the phone. We're allowed. This is Florida. We can be on the phone. I'm used to this. My eyes are on the road. Trust me. I got the reflexes of a cat. So, but getting back to Matt Chandler, like I said, I think this is a lesson for all of us. Whether you're an old dude like me who don't do Instagram and Facebook and you don't have to worry about that, you still, I'm in sales. I speak to women all day long, Sometimes it's frequent. I have to see the same people at the same stores. I'm delivering. I deliver. I drive a truck. I deliver product, but I got to sell the product before I can get it in there. So, you got to talk to people and convince them why they need 100 cases and not just 20. So, I understand that you have to be guarded and you have to be wise. And, I think we all, as Christian men and women, if we're Catholic Christians, divorce isn't an option. So you don't want to get in a place where you fall for someone else and now you're like, wow, I got to stay married because it's my duty. You want to cultivate. I heard someone talking about a job, but I could use this analogy for marriage. The grass ain't always greener on the other side of the hill, so start watering the grass where you're standing. I thought that was a pretty wise saying. I forget who said it, otherwise I'd give him credit. But so let's just stay guarded, stay wise, pray for our Protestant brothers and sisters, that they come back to the one true Holy Catholic Apostolic Church. So God bless and stay Catholic.